morning, everybody.
Good morning.
First of all, I want to bring you warm greetings from Governor O'Malley and Lieutenant Governor Brown. As the Secretary of the Department of Disabilities, I served in the Governor's Cabinet for the last 4+ years, and have been very happy to do that, and have had great opportunities to work with the other Cabinet Secretaries on a lot of initiatives that benefit people with disabilities of all ages. So it's Saturday morning, and I'm sure there are places that you'd rather be on a Saturday morning, but for whatever reason, you're here at Prince George's Community College. And this may be, for those of you who are high school students, your first day of many on a college campus, and we welcome you here this morning. And we felt it was really important that a summit focusing on students with learning disabilities who are going on to community college be in a community college. So we're very appreciative of Prince George's Community College for hosting this today and for making all of the arrangements, and we thank Thomas especially for doing that, but all of the Prince George's Community College staff who've been involved with it. We hope it's going to be a good day for you and one that you're going to remember for a long time. What is the Department of Disabilities? Well, we were formed in 2004 at the request of people with disabilities. They wanted to have a cabinet level department, and so then Governor Ehrlich was supportive of that and created the Department of Disabilities. And we are a very small department within state government, and our job is very difficult because we are charged with coordinating all services for people with disabilities, and that means that we have to pay a whole lot of attention to what the other departments do, and oftentimes get ourselves into a position of unpopularity by talking about what they do and how it may not be in the best interests of people with disabilities. And so I do a lot of convincing, cajoling, networking, and so forth in order to make good things happen. But sometimes my advances are, shall we say, less than welcome. There's one person from our staff, from the department, here with me today, Rachel Faulkner, who is our coordinator of education and children's policy. And we do a lot of policy work. We do a lot of analysis of regulations and so forth, coming from the federal government, state government, and so forth. And Rachel's very involved in that work as it pertains to children and youth. So why are we doing a summit for teens with learning disabilities? Because we want to promote your success. And I have a very personal interest in this. My son, who's now 28, experienced a learning disability as he was growing up. And so I'm well aware of all of the issues that he faced, issues of feelings of lack of self-worth and how he reconciled those. Issues of not necessarily understanding how he could be so good at some things and not so good at other things, and how he reconciled all that. I understand the anxiety and the depression that sometimes accompany learning disabilities. I understand how my son was able to reconcile those with a lot of help. I understand what good special education services can be about and how they can be empowering. And how they should be empowering. And I understand the transition from high school to college. I understand that young people with learning disabilities don't want to be labeled as having a disability and don't want to accept disability support services when they get to community colleges or four-year colleges, and how parents have to pull back and watch and then push if it's needed, but to allow the young person with the learning disability to become fully empowered and to take charge of their lives. So I understand all that. And I understand, I talked to my son yesterday, he lives out in Los Angeles now. He's a financial analyst for a food company. And yesterday he just had his interview for the Master's in Business Administration program at the University of California, Irvine. So I understand that you can go from feeling pretty bad about yourself to feeling really good about yourself and feeling that you can succeed and you can reach the top of the world. And I want all of you young people in the room this morning to have that feeling as well. And so that's my personal interest in doing these summits for young people with learning disabilities, and this is the second one that we've done. We want to stimulate your thinking about yourself, about your strengths, and about areas that you're not so strong in, what help you'll need in order to succeed. And my best advice to you, okay, and this is sort of like, you know, the Charlie Brown shows where you've heard me go for the last 2 or 3 minutes. And now listen to this though, because this I want to be nice and loud and clear, so blah, 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 blah. Know yourself. Understand you. Understand what you're really strong and good at, but also understand what you're not so good at. And that's really painful sometimes to have to acknowledge. But when you do that, you know then to play to your strengths in whatever you do and avoid and minimize doing things that you're not so strong at, or figure out ways to compensate. Okay. We tend to think of people as lucky who are celebrities, who are sports figures and athletes, professional athletes. We admire them, maybe even envy them. They've had fame and fortune, and we consider them lucky. But you're lucky too. And why? Well, because you came to the school system after Public Law 94-142 was enacted. And before that, before 1975, the Dark Ages as we call it in education, students with disabilities did not get IEPs. They oftentimes weren't even welcomed into the school system, depending on how significant their disabilities were. So you've been lucky because you've had that guaranteed right to education. You've had an IEP, or you've had a 504 plan. You've had the teaching supports and the services that you've needed in order for you to perform well academically. You're lucky too because you've had parents and teachers who truly care about you and who brought you here today or made sure you got here today. And among all the other ways that they show you they care about you enough that you got here today. And you're lucky too because Section 504 of the 1973 Rehabilitation Act and the Americans with Disabilities Act, which was enacted in 1990, we just had the 20th anniversary last summer, that assures that you're going to get what you need when you get to the community college level. If you need extra time to take tests, if you need a note taker, if you need screen reading software, if you need a sign language interpreter, if you need help with editing papers, students with learning disabilities can and do succeed at the community college level. I'm going to pass out for you, and I'm going to ask my friends here to the left to take one and pass it along. And my friends here to the right to take one and pass it along. I hope you're familiar with, raise your hands students if you're familiar with the Be What I Want to Be website. Have you seen it? Uh-oh, I don't see any hands going up. This is a great website. And I'm passing out for you the homepage, a copy of the homepage, and then underneath it are a couple of young adults who talk about their careers. And so I wanted you to see the homepage and see what's available on this website. This is like having a career fair in your school anytime you want it. It's at your fingertips. If you go on the computer, bewhatIwantTobe.com. It's done by the Maryland Business Roundtable, and it's their site for youth. And so they've taken people who are in a lot of different careers, and they've gotten them to talk about their careers, about how they got into those careers, and what they would do differently if they had to do anything differently. It's very interesting. So I think you'll enjoy, in your spare time, going on the BeWhatIwantTobe.com website. So your success is important. It's important to Governor O'Malley. He has a slogan that he has used, a principle actually, that those of us who serve in his workforce sub-cabinet follow, and that is, there is no such thing as a spare Marylander. We don't have any spare Marylanders. We have all these BRAC jobs, base realignment and closure. The military base realignment and closure is happening. It began happening last fall, and we have a ton of jobs moving into Maryland, and then you're going to see the build out of other jobs. The first ones coming in are the defense contractors and the actual government jobs at Fort Meade, here in close to Prince George's County. No, it's not in Prince George's County. I worked here for 12 years. I know it's not in Prince George's County. Andrews Air Force Base, which is in the county, but Fort Meade is very close, and a lot of you might avail yourselves of employment opportunities there. And the big one is, or the big two are Fort Meade, and the other big one is up in Harford County at Aberdeen Proving Ground, and Fort Monmouth up in New Jersey is closing, and they're moving a lot of jobs in there as we speak. So all of that has started to happen in a big way. And then after the initial influx of jobs, then all of the other kinds of jobs and businesses that are associated with keeping these things going and services that people need will be building out, and you're going to see an enormous amount of growth in jobs in Maryland in the next 5 to 10 years. We also know that the Cyber Command is coming to Maryland. Maryland will be the cybersecurity headquarters for the United States. And right now, you know, we hear from companies like Lockheed Martin that they cannot find enough engineers and IT people who can get security clearances to fill these jobs. We also know that the Patuxent Naval Air Station, which is down in St. Mary's County, which had benefited a while back from another base realignment, they've got about 400 jobs for engineers who need security clearance that they could fill tomorrow, but they can't find the people with the qualifications. So the jobs are there. These are high-paying jobs. Students, again, here we go with the Charlie Brown, blah, 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 blah. Listen to this. These jobs pay on average $85,000 a year. Did you hear that? That got your attention. So everyone's going to be needed, and we've got this Skills to Compete initiative going on in Maryland. It's the word skills, the number 2, and the word compete. And the number 2 is not in there just to be cutesy. It's about upping the skill level of all Maryland students coming out of high school by at least 2 years. Because that's what's needed in this new economy. So, the message today is that you are needed, you are wanted, you can succeed, know yourself, and advocate for yourself. And I was swimming this morning. I had music on in the background, and the song that came on was Hold On Tight to Your Dreams. So that would be my parting message to you. Hold on tight to your dreams and pursue them. And don't let anybody tell you that you can't, because you can. And I just want to, again, thank Prince George's Community College for co-sponsoring this with us today, and the Maryland Higher Ed Commission.